way. Be mindful of what you say. Be sincere when you pray. Today could be your last day. Bear each other no malice. Greed and faith can coexist in the same heart.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, dear brothers and sisters, joining us from around the world on our live program, Gems of the Heart. And I'm your host for the evening, Junaid Dar. Dear brothers and sisters, I'd like to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us together and giving us the opportunity to speak about the beautiful names and attributes. Not just that, but also like to make mention of the blessed name of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Dear viewers, I'd like to thank all of you for tuning and taking your time out to focus on this very important subject, the subject of Tawheed. From the beginning of the program, we've been looking at the different aspects of Tawheed, the Rububiyyah, the Uluhiyyah, the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now we are entering into the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've taken approximately, I think, 20 names, if I'm correct in understanding, and today's name is a very unique name, and that is the name of Al-Wahhab. We'll go into that in some detail. But brothers and sisters, it's very important for us to learn the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? First and foremost, because it is the root of all knowledge. It is where all the other knowledge spring out from. We must understand who is our Lord, who is our Creator, who is our Sustainer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us Himself, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, that you must know, you must understand, you must comprehend that there is no Creator except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my dear brothers and sisters, the name for today's program is Al-Wahhab, and inshallah ta'ala we have with us the Sheikh in the studio. So let's begin by introducing him, and then we can go straight into the discussion for today. If I can turn to Sheikh Ibrahim Judan. Sheikh, I'd like to give you a warm welcome today on Gems of the Heart by saying Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Okay, Sheikh, so we've got the name Al-Wahhab, and if I can start off, as we do always, with the definition of what this name actually means, please.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. The name Al-Wahhab means the one that gives, from Wahaba, but it's a special giving, a giving without anything in return, giving without a person deserve. You know, many things that we do in our life that we give others, but we might expect something in return. You would give to those who deserve. You don't want to give to the ones that do not deserve.
Okay.
So Al-Wahhab has this unique meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that gives and bestows His favors upon others without them deserving it necessarily and without anything in return.
Okay.
That's why the meaning of it in the Quran, in specific things, it shows these meanings that has its effect in the hearts and the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the believers.
Okay, excellent. Dear viewers, on that note, I'd like to remind you of the question from last week, and also that the phone lines are open. So you can join us by answering the question live in the studio, or you can turn to our Facebook page if you don't have access to a telephone and answer it on the Facebook page. The question from last week was, what exactly is the Sayyid al-Istighfar? That's the question. So pick up your phones and inshallah ta'ala recite to us the dua or write it for us here on Facebook. Sheikh, if we can continue. So you said that the root of this is Wahaba. But what's significant about the structure of Wahhab? It sounds a little bit different.
No, it's more than just Wahaba because it's a continuous one. It's Sigat Mubalagha, that means He keeps on giving, subhanahu wa ta'ala. It never ends because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most rich, and He keeps on giving. Since the creation of Adam alayhi salam, human beings are being given one thing after the other. The same person, many things, endless things for each person. And that's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, whether people deserve or not.
Okay.
Whether people that this is for something in return or not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Wahhab. And that's actually has or shares the same letters with the word hiba, which means a gift.
Okay.
When we give a gift to someone, usually, or this is how it's supposed to be, that you give the gift without something in return. You don't give a gift for money in return. That's not a gift anymore. So the gift is something that a person would give without waiting for anything in return.
Sure.
That's from a human being to a human being. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the bestower of all things. So it's a continuous thing, something there's so much in abundance and it never ends, it's always there.
Okay, so it's one of constantly giving without expecting anything in return, but giving it purely out of love or out of mercy.
Correct.
Okay.
And of course, the purpose of our life has to be, of course, established. And that is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all of what He gives to His creation.
All right, and Sheikh, the name itself, Al-Wahhab, appears in the Quran a number of times in the form, verb, and also 3 times as the proper noun, as we've described before. One of the verses I'd like to look at, also Sheikh, actually when we look at the word Wahhaba in the verses, we find that they're usually connected with 2 things, either discussing family matters, asking about children, so on and so forth, and the second about spiritual matters. What's the connection here with Wahhaba and family issues?
This is a very important, thing for us to reflect upon. Every time the offsprings are mentioned in the Quran with regards to giving, or wife, or even brothers, the word wahaba is mentioned.
Okay.
That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. So this is a pure gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To have children, to have offsprings, and also to have a righteous wife. And the same thing when it comes to a brother. So this is a pure gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can say that we do not deserve anything. Like we cannot say, I deserve to have children. Who said that? We don't deserve as far as our rights that we have to have children.
Okay.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that bestows this on us.
Sure.
And that's one of the adornments of this life. And the same thing to have a righteous wife. And that's from the dua of the believers, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. Oh Allah, hab. This is the dua to give us from you, subhanahu wa ta'ala,
Sure.
from our wives and our children, the comfort of our eyes. Because it's not something that a person deserves. And when this significance of the meaning is present, then we will be able to really, truly know how to deal and treat our families.
Okay.
If it's a pure gift, it's different than something that I deserve or something of that nature. The relationship will be totally different from that perspective.
Okay, excellent. Sheikh, in order for us to truly understand that relationship, I would like to go through some of the verses and how they're connected with families and offspring. One of those is a story with Ibrahim alayhi salam, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Alhamdulillah alladhi wahaba li ala al-kibri Ismail wa Ishaq. The connection with Ibrahim and his children here.
Now, Ibrahim alayhi salam, as we know that he reached old age when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him his son Ismail and Ishaq. And the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam is one of the stories that are so amazing, and it shows in it the iman of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his certainty and relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Ibrahim alayhi salam praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed on him, Ismail and Ishaq. And the word wahaba is mentioned here because it's given to Ibrahim alayhi salam when he has no means physically to have children.
Okay.
When he reached old in age and his wife was barren and she could not have children. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he decrees something, then all the means, he's the creator of the means, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this was clearly, purely a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because again, human beings sometimes they fall into the trap of being attached to the means. A person would say, I have the means to have children, and my wife is the same thing, so why this is not happening? So they think it's kind of a necessity or something that is a right for them, that they have to have this. No, it's purely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People can be absolutely physically fine, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed for them not to have children, or to have a boy or a girl, a male or female. This is purely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَهَبُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. And as inshallah the verse will come. So it's not according to our decision, it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
So that showed clearly in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And truly any one of us, although we're not the same, necessarily like the way of Ibrahim alayhi salam, but we have to look at our offsprings the same way.
Right.
That we have been given our offsprings without, really having the means to rely on. It's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
SubhanAllah. And sometimes you think about these precious gifts that Allah gives. Do you actually deserve them? What have you done to attain them? But Allah keeps giving, as you made mention.
Right, and even the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, especially in the story of Sulaym, radiallahu anha, when her son died,
Okay.
and how she prepared her husband to give him the news. She gave him a beautiful example that brings this meaning of gift or something that is given from Allah.
Okay.
That this son was the most beloved son to her husband, Talha radiallahu anh. And he was so concerned and sad when his son was sick, and the people would see that on his face. So when he died one time and he was not present in the house, so when he died, and Sulaym radiallahu anha, she prepared her son and she put him aside, and he's dead. And her husband came with guests with him. She entertained, she fixed food for them. She did not inform of them anything. Opposite to what women would do. Right? And this is the iman and the patience in her. She took care of the guests and she cooked food and so on. And after that, she even had relations with her husband to give the rights of her husband. And then after that, and after everything is settled, then she gave him an example, introducing the matter to him. Did not tell him, your son died, but rather she said, what do you think of people that when someone gave them ariya or a gift or something to keep with them, and then after that he asked them for it afterwards, and he said, I refuse to give it back to you. What do you think of these people? He said, they are evil people. Then she said to him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took his gift back, right? So then he said, why didn't you tell me earlier? And then when they went to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ already knew from the revelation from Allah that Allah was pleased with that night and the action of Sulaym. And as a result of that, the Prophet ﷺ made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them, and it was seen for them 10 children all memorized the Quran as a blessing, thing for that night that they had together, and this contentment. And the example that she mentioned is very important to link the children with this fact that this is a gift from Allah and He can take it anytime He wants, subhanahu wa ta'ala. People sometimes they panic and even they lose their iman, their faith, if they lose a child, for example. It's a gift, something that Allah gave and something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took back.
SubhanAllah, it's clearly showing she had lots of patience, not just patience but also strength to hold the news back for such a long time.
And the reason why she was like this is by really understanding the meaning of Al-Wahhab. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Wahhab. When the iman is present in the heart, then everything will be seen in the right way.
Okay, excellent. Sheikh, also we find that another verse talking about Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he says, وَوَهَبَ لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. So in another verse, not just talking about Ibrahim's children, but talking about his progeny, those that are going to continue to come. So it's really giving you a long vision or a deep understanding of the word.
Right, and this is another important point is, and a person can be gifted not just by his own immediate children, but they even can come after generations. Even he passed away and he left this world, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows a favor on him that it comes in later generations. And that's what the meaning of the hadith, احفظ الله يحفظك, guard the orders of Allah, protect the orders of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you. It was said that it comes into even to the 6th and the 7th generations.
SubhanAllah.
A person is being righteous, being pious, he doesn't see that in his immediate children, but it might come into the grandsons or the great-grandsons and so on. And this can be also in the balance of his good deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So it's a continuous, the lineage of the person is a continuous thing. And of course it's the blessings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam being from the progeny of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And he's the father of all the prophets after him. All of this, see the ibadah of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his dua and how he received the child when he was old in age. And no prophet was sent after Ibrahim alayhi salam unless he is from the lineage of Ibrahim alayhi salam.
And so just to think, like you said, Sheikh, that a father, his progeny and those that follow, he gets the ajr or the reward of every good thing that that person does, that follows.
Right, especially that if he has a say in it, meaning from his actions, and he passed on the religion to his offsprings and so on, he gets everything that comes from his lineage.
Okay, excellent. Sheikh, also we can see that in the life of Sulaiman alayhi salam, when we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَوَهَبْنَا لِدَاوُدْ Sulaiman, that the same thing, he was gifted Dawood.
Right, and again the same thing with family matters, with how they were gifted and how they helped one another and how they increased their iman together. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed this kingdom for them. And great meanings really, but it needs for the believers to reflect upon this.
Okay.
Because there's always implication to the proper meaning. So the proper implication to this is that it would affect one's ikhlas, sincerity, one's worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person would see things differently, and he would treat things differently according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them.
Okay, excellent. Sheikh, there is another story, a very beautiful story, and that is the story of Zakaria alayhi salam when he was making dua. And once again, very similar to Ibrahim alayhi salam, but I think in this case that Zakaria and his wife were very old, and they wanted a son as well. Can I ask you to talk about that as well?
Right, and this is mentioned in more than one surah, where Zakaria alayhi salam, he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it shows that no matter how much a person might not have any means to what he wants, but they still made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted their dua, and in their dua they would say, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا, as in the beginning of Surah Maryam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed His favor upon him. And when that happens, they would say, أَنَّ يَكُونُ لِي وَلَدْ, how can I have a child? وَكَانَتِ امْرَأَتِي عَاقِرَةً, and my wife was barren, وَقَدْ بَلَغْتُ مِنَ الْكِبْرِ عِتِيًّا, and I'm very old in age. So both, not just the husband. The husband is very old in age,
Okay.
and the wife is barren and she's old in age.
SubhanAllah.
So there is no chance whatsoever according to what people see in their life. But they made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
Very important thing, it teaches us that we should never give up in making dua. Make dua with even the things that you might think it's impossible.
Okay.
But we cannot make dua with the things that are not permissible for us to make. Like for example, if a person makes dua, can he make dua that Allah make him a prophet of Allah? That's forbidden, of course, because that's impossible to happen. But rather the things that we might think it's so far away. If a person sees himself that he's away from the religion, that he did so much evil deeds in his life, he can make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make me very righteous. You know, people sometimes shaitan whisper to them, no, you're far away from this. If you can just make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save you from the hellfire, but you to ask Allah for the highest level of Jannah, you're away from this. You know, the believers should always have good expectations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if a person is alive, that means anything can happen by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered their dua. And not just that, but to give them a child that is a prophet of Allah.
Okay.
And he's never been named like that before, which is Yahya alayhi salam. A beautiful thing.
Okay.
And it's all by the power of the dua and the sincerity. And it's all gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He accepts the dua.
Okay, and Sheikh, also as one of the goals and objectives of Gems of the Heart, the program, when we're looking at these names and attributes, to link them to our hearts and to link them with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, should we then use certain names and attributes in certain circumstances? So if I, for example, would like for a son or a daughter, should I then use the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-Wahhab?
Definitely, and that's what we learn from the Quran. One of the things that we learn from the verses of the Quran, we learn how the prophets of Allah, they made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what words they used. And this is a great benefit for us to learn, so that when we ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we use the same words. And not just the words with our tongues, but to have the meanings present in our hearts. That we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bestow His favor upon you. Not something that a person feels that this is by necessity, he has to have it. Or to be thinking bad about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why He has not given to me this when He gave others this? You know, all of this, of course, you know, blocks the acceptance of the dua of the person, because it has the meaning of al-Wahhab. And so the believers, when they have this in their hearts and they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful.
Okay, excellent. And Sheikh, one of the du'as you mentioned earlier, but I want to elaborate on it a little bit further, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us that رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. That in this particular du'a we're talking not just about children, but also about wives. So what's the relevance here between the name Wahhab and also wives and children?
Now, first of all, this is one of the attributes, one of the characteristics of the believers. So if people are truly believers, they would make such a dua.
Okay.
So we learn from the Quran that being a believer, you have to make these types of du'as. And to learn this dua. And as we see in the dua, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. Oh Allah, هَبْ لَنَا. The same word is mentioned here. Bestow on us. Oh, even though we might not deserve it.
Okay.
That we're not, you know, into that level, but still they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give to them from the offsprings and the wives. قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ is the jewel of the eye, the comfort of the eye. And you see, the dua is not just to give us wives and children. You know, this is not the goal, to have wives and children. And many people that get married, they don't think why they're getting married. You know, they just get married to the ones that their hearts find, you know, inclined towards that person, so they will get married. This is not the way that marriage should be. A person might be attached to someone so much, but he ruined himself in this marriage. The outcome of it can be very severe and very bad. So the outcome is what the believers they seek, to establish the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to have the comfort of one's eyes.
Okay.
And to leave the matter to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the comfort to one's eyes, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that dunya mata', this dunya is nothing but just a temporary enjoyment. And the best of its mata', mar'a salihah, zawja salihah, the righteous wife.
Okay.
If a person is given a righteous wife, this is the best gift in this temporary enjoyment of this life.
Okay.
Why? Because she would protect him in her chastity, in his wealth. She would be kind to him, and she is wadud and walud, and she's loving and so on. And that gives the comfort to the person. For a man, if he doesn't have this, his life can be completely a disaster.
Right.
So to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bestow on oneself a righteous wife, and to have the offsprings. The offsprings can be the reason for one's also misery in this life.
Sure.
And we know the story in Surah Al-Kahf about Al-Khadr, of how that Al-Khadr, he killed the child, and he informed Musa alayhi salam that this child, he knew by the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he would ruin his parents. So sometimes children, they become the source of misery for the parents. So we don't want just to have offsprings or children, but we want them to be the comfort of our eyes.
SubhanAllah.
And that's the significance of learning even how to make dua.
Okay.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and that's why when it comes as a gift from Allah, it's different than it becomes, is given to the person as a punishment from Allah.
Okay. And also, Sheikh, on this note, we're asking Allah to give. So does this dua apply if a man doesn't have a wife and he's asking for a wife? Or can it also be used if someone does have a wife, but he wants her to be a better wife, a more pious wife? Can he then use the same dua?
Right. The dua is to be said at all times, whether a person is married or not married, whether a person has children or don't have children, because the children can change and the wife can change. And it's always, really in relationships, it's amazing that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most just, and the matter is very complex. That people, they want a righteous wife, but they themselves are not righteous. It doesn't work this way.
Okay.
Or a person wants his offsprings to be righteous, but he commits sins. It doesn't work this way. So if a person really is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bestow his favor upon him, he has to be what he wants in his wife and what he wants in his children. And also the significance of a gift. That means when you give someone a gift, that means you love that person.
Sure.
You're doing a favor. You're not giving to him a punishment. And that's why we have to be careful. When we give gifts, it is not permissible to give someone something that is haram as a gift.
Okay.
Otherwise, you really don't like that person. Right? So when a person is being given a gift, a righteous wife or righteous children, this is really what matters. Otherwise, a person can have a wife and children, and in reality, there are punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that person as a result of his own sins.
Okay.
So they would make his life a disaster. So that's why the significance of habilana, bestow on us, give us this favor of having the comfort in our eyes from the children and the wife.
Okay, and Sheikh, also when you've explained that dua, at the end of that dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Sorry, before you answer that question, we've got Abdul Latif from Nigeria. Let's take this phone call. We have with us brother Abdul Latif. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you doing, my brother?
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum ya Sheikh Ibrahim.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. Barakallahu feek.
Go ahead, Abdul Latif. Do you know the answer to the question, what is the Sayyidul Istighfar? Are you still with us?
اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت خلقتني وأنا عبدك وأنا على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت أبو لك بنعمتك لي وأبو بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت.
Okay, mashallah, Sheikh. What does he get out of 10?
MashaAllah, brother Abdul Latif is the recitation is very nice too, MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, Abdul Latif, mashallah, you call us regularly, reading verses from the Quran, reading dua for us as well. We thank you very much. Your answer is correct, just like the Sheikh said. So, mashallah, may Allah increase you in your knowledge, may Allah increase you in your memorization as well. Continue to call us. Dear viewers, if you would like to call us and add to that as well, like to read the dua in a beautiful way, just like Abdul Latif did, feel free to pick up the phones and join us as well. We'll read the comments on Facebook towards the end of the program, but the phone lines are open. If you have a question as well, feel free to ask us that on air as well. So thank you very much, brother Abdul Latif. So Sheikh, the end of that particular dua, so we said, وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Now, what is the significance here? What are we asking for here?
Right. It literally means that, oh Allah, make us to the muttaqeen, to the people of taqwa, to the believers, those who fear Allah, imaman, leaders. What it means really is not necessarily to be leaders or imam in the salah, or to be the leaders of the believers in a physical sense. What it means is to make us sources of guidance to others and to make us guided from the believers.
Okay.
So it's like a continuous chain. We receive guidance from the nations before, from the generations before, and we become the source of guidance for the generations to come.
Right.
Because how would the next generation get to be steadfast on the deen of Allah? It comes from one generation to the other. Each generation gives, and hands on the revelation, if it's correct to say, from one generation to the other. Our job, we can see that and perceive our job on the face of earth is that how can the deen, the religion of Allah, be preserved by us? so that the next generation gets the religion the way it was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. You see, when generations, they start to deviate from the truth, that things get worse and worse, and then generation that is weak away from the religion, so it gives the religion to the next generation even worse and even weaker and weaker. But when a person, his job is to make sure that the religion is not going to be weak from his end. He's going to give the religion to the next generation exactly the same way it was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So he become a source of guidance. So all the generations to come become the source of his good deeds. He get good deeds by them applying the religion that he basically gave them in this chain of generations, one after the other. It's a beautiful concept, beautiful meaning, and especially as Muslims today, we are in need of this. And also, whether Muslims are in the West or so, many people, they left Muslim countries and they went to places where Muslims are minorities. And they are the first generations of Muslims, for example. You see the next generation, the second generation, weaker Muslims. Many of them are like this. And then the third generation might be even leaving the fold of Islam. Where is the responsibility and the effort in which a person becomes imam, meaning that he would get the next generation to be even stronger than him with matters of religion, so that the religion keeps on strong from one generation to the other.
Okay, excellent. Sheikh, on that note, let's take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll have a look at the second aspect on where we see the name Wahhab. So, dear brothers and sisters, we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we'll continue with the name Al-Wahhab and look at how it applies in different contexts away from that of the family. And if you'd like to join us as well, the phone lines are going to be open, so do join us live in the studio. We will see you all after this very short break.
Change our heart.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters, joining us in the second part of our program here on Gems of the Heart, where we are taking the beautiful name of Allah, Al-Wahhab. And before the break, we talked about the first subject, or the subtitle that it comes under, and that is in relation to families, children, and wife. Now, in the second part, we want to have a look at another context in which we find the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, we tend to find here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the name Wahhab also when it comes to righteousness or doing good things. In part, we want to have a look at another context in which we find the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, we tend to find here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the name Wahhab also when it comes to righteousness or doing good things. In part, we want to have a look at another context in which we find the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, we tend to find here that the name Wahhab also when it comes to righteousness or doing good things. In part, we want to have a look at another context Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, we tend to find here that the name Wahhab also when it comes to righteousness. In part, we want to have a look at another context doing good things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, context in which we find the name Wahhab also when part we want to have a look at another context when it comes to righteousness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, context in which we find the name doing good things. The name Wahhab also when part we want to have a look at another context when it comes to righteousness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, context in which we find the name doing good things. The name Wahhab also when part we want to have a look at another context Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses when it comes to righteousness, Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, context in which we find the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In part, we want to have a look at another context, the name Wahhab also when it comes to righteousness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, doing good things. Context in which we find the name Wahhab also when part we want to have a look at another context when it comes to righteousness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, doing good things. Context in which we find the name Wahhab also of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to righteousness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, doing good things. Context in which we find the name Wahhab also of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to righteousness. In part, we want to have a look at another Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name doing good things. The name Wahhab also of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to righteousness. In part, we want to have a look at another Al-Wahhab. Sheikh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name doing good things. The name Wahhab also of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to righteousness. In part, we want to have a look at another Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Wahhab also it comes to righteousness, one part we want to have a look at another Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Wahhab also when it comes to righteousness. One part we want to have a look at another Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Wahhab also when part we want to have a look at another Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Wahhab also when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Wahhab also when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Wahhab also when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Wahhab also when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the name Wahhab also when context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the name Wahhab also when context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the name Wahhab also when context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the name Wahhab also when context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the name Wahhab also when context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Wahhab also when context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses context in which we find the name context in which we find the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses his kingdom when you would say that one doesn't need anything, but when he's at his strength he turns to Allah and he makes a dua قال رب اغفر لي وهب لي ملكا, give me a kingdom which is the best of kingdoms. Now why would he do that in such a state when he is the king?
Right. Sulaiman alayhi salam, every prophet he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something that was given. And Sulaiman alayhi salam, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a kingdom that is not to be for anyone after him.
Okay.
هب لي ملكا لا ينبغي لأحد من بعدي. That is, does not befit for anyone after me. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَسَخَّرْنَا لَهُ الرِّيحَ تَجْرِي بِأَمْرِهِ, and so on. That means the wind has been given to him, and all these different creation of Allah, they submitted themselves to him. So he used the kingdom, and he was the king, so that he would establish the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not to be a tyrant, not to spread corruption on the face of earth, but rather to be someone that is righteous and a prophet of Allah and so on. And that's because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he accepted his dua, no one had what Sulaiman alayhi salam had afterwards. Even the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, when he said to the companions one day that last night Ifrit, one of the jinn, that he was bothering the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ took a hold of him, and he said, if it wasn't for the dua of Sulaiman alayhi salam, I would have tied that jinni on one of the pillars of the masjid for you to see him the next day.
Okay.
But because of the dua of Sulaiman, only him that has this kingdom in which he has the jinn to work for him, and so on and so forth. So you see how the effect of the dua continued to be. You know, even the Prophet ﷺ would not do this because of the dua of Sulaiman alayhi salam.
Okay, and Sheikh, if you actually look at the miracles that were given to Sulaiman alayhi salam, they're quite amazing. Like you said, he had the jinn working for him. He had a carpet which he used to use to move around. He had, I think it is the ability to understand the animals or the birds. SubhanAllah, the miracles were so vast in nature. Why is that the case with Sulaiman alayhi salam?
This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his dua. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, by the way, he was given that choice, whether to be a king and a prophet, or a slave of Allah and a prophet.
Okay.
And he chose to be a slave of Allah and a prophet, because a person might think, and of course we do not mention any superiority in the context of putting down a prophet of Allah. Other prophets of Allah are great individuals, the best of all human beings, and so on. But the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the best of all messengers of Allah, because he chose to be the most humble, and to be a prophet of Allah, the final messenger of Allah, and a slave of Allah. And he would say, I sit and I eat like a slave. And he would eat on the ground, and he had less in his life, in which if he chose, alayhi salatu wasalam, to have the treasures of the East and the West, it would have been with him. But the Prophet ﷺ chose otherwise. And that's what even he was guided to the fitrah, as Jibreel alayhi salam said to him when he chose the milk over the wine and so on. So is the rizq, the provisions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different, and it fits for every nation to the other what is best for them. And for the final messenger of Allah, Muhammad ﷺ, to be the best example to all mankind, people might say if he was a king and so on, well, we're not kings, we're not able to do so, we're not able to imitate him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him the example to all mankind till the day of judgment in the best character and the best even matters of provisions that was given to him.
Okay, excellent. Sheikh, in this next part, I would like to have a look at a little bit more detail in dua itself, because we've talked about lots of different du'as throughout this program. I want to first look at the nature of dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. And on a daily basis, we are given stuff we don't even ask for. So what would it feel like if we actually ask Allah with the right names? How much more would Allah give us?
Right, this is a beautiful meaning, because that's what really the meaning of al-Wahhab. That a person wakes up in the morning, he's given the breath to take. You know, we're given life one breath after another. We're not asking Allah, oh Allah, give me that next breath and this next breath and this. Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the bestower of all things, and if He will that He won't give you that one extra breath, He won't have it. So, but still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows His favor upon His creation. But the problem is there's no gratefulness in the way it should be.
Okay.
And when people start asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they ask for things, many of them they have in their hearts, they're not content. They want more of the materialistic things of this life, and they think that they deserve more. And they forget about the meaning of al-Wahhab that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them when they don't deserve. We don't deserve even life itself. And that's one of the significance of al-Wahhab. He's the one that gave us this life.
Okay.
When we talked about that before, that we did not have a previous life, that we earned something to be able to have this life. We're given this life without deserving anything. We found ourselves walking and talking, and where did that come from? We don't deserve anything. It's just given to us.
Sure.
So therefore, when a person thinks this way, he would see how much injustice that the human beings they do when they associate partners with Allah.
Okay.
When they're not grateful to Allah, when they commit sins and so on.
Sure, excellent. Sheikh, also I want to have a look at how some people may feel that their du'as are answered or not answered. When a person makes du'a, what are the consequences to that? And what I mean is, first, the person's du'a, is it answered or accepted in the direct manner, or are there other ways in which a du'a is answered?
No, the du'a is the ibadah, as the Prophet ﷺ said. So this is part of the worship. This is the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, when the believers, they make du'a to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, they take the means so that the dua is accepted, because it's clearly mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, what are the things that prevents the person from the dua to be accepted, like eating haram, non-permissible things, asking the non-permissible matters, and so on and so forth. Sins affect the person. So when a person makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the dua, the acceptance is not necessarily what we expect it to be.
Okay.
So that's what the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the dua, either the person gets what he asked for, or he is pushed away harm from him the same way of what he asked, the same magnitude, or it will be kept for him in the day of judgment.
Okay.
And that's why the happiness of the person when it's kept in the day of judgment is far more than what if he's given in this life. But that leads us to something else. What we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, either it's matters of this worldly gain or something of the hereafter.
Sure.
The hereafter, to enter Jannah and to be guided in this life to reach that final destination. This is if a person is sincere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this, the person will be guided on Islam, he will be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on. And that's definitely, we know what is good in it. But when it comes to materialistic things, a house, a car, health, or this or that, we still ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Okay.
What is best for us with matters of iman and guidance. If a person asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, give me wealth, and he doesn't care about his iman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give him wealth, and he take away the most important thing, and that is his faith and his obedience to Allah. And that would lead him to his own destruction. So the dua is accepted, but it's not really the acceptance.
Okay.
The acceptance is when the person is guided also, that he would receive this blessing till the day of judgment, and an everlasting favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that does not affect one's faith and one's obedience to Allah.
Okay, excellent, Sheikh. We've come into the last part of the program, so I'd like to look at some of the answers that we've got on Facebook with regards to Sayyid al-Istighfar, and I'll read the names and the answers, and you can tell me if they're right or wrong. So we have with us Sister Mary Oli, and she repeats the dua, Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa anta khalaqtani wa ana abduk wa ana ala ahdika wa wa'adika mastata'at. And she completes the dua as it is. Is that correct?
Correct. MashaAllah, maybe also the viewers would memorize the dua, which is something that's supposed to be said every day in the morning and in the evening, twice every day.
Okay, so Sister Mary Oli, your answer is correct. And also we have Latif, and he repeats the same dua as well. So once again, Brother Latif. Sister Samreen Iqbal, and she repeats the same dua as well. So mashallah, 3 people with the same dua, Shaykh.
MashaAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them and make the dua accepted for all of us, inshallah.
Okay, so well done to all 3 of you, Sister Mary Oli, Brother Latif, and also Sister Samreen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your work and increase you in your participation with us here as well, and increase you in making these du'as. Now we've come to that time where we've got to give you the question for this week. We've got to prepare you and keep you busy, so inshallah ta'ala you will join us on our next week's program as well. Sheikh, the question for this week, would you like to give it?
No, you as usual.
All right, so let us go with the tradition, and I will give the question here. And the question is as follows. In which dua, and once again this was mentioned in the early part of the program, but I think it's an easy question this week. In which dua does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention the comfort of the eyes? You can see the question there on your screens, and you can inshallah ta'ala answer that on our Facebook page after the program. This week, unfortunately, the question was put a little bit late on the page, but inshallah this one will be put straight after. So in which dua did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make mention of the comfort of the eyes? And that was clearly mentioned in the early part of the program. So do join us on Facebook with that particular question. Sheikh, before we conclude, there is an interesting statement that I found that Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she makes a statement with regards to dua, and she said, Salallah kulla shay, ask Allah for everything. And she even makes the comparison that if your shoelace breaks or unties, even ask for that. What is the wisdom here behind this statement?
This is actually the way of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. As it was mentioned about them, they used to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything, حتى شسع النعل. Even if the shoelace is torn, they would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The significance of that is really when a person's heart is full of the love of Allah, understanding who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with His names and attributes, then a person would see that nothing can be attained except by the will of Allah. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will for you not to have salt today on your food, you won't have salt on the food.
Okay.
So therefore, it's out of actually ignorance when a person does not ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for these things, thinking I have it already at home. No, you have it already by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will for you not to benefit from it, you won't benefit from it. So they used to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even for the salt of the food. And that's not to belittle the matters of ibadah and so on, to use it in all of these details. No, this is part of being a believer, is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything. And even with the word al-wahhab and how it even affects our, giving a gift to a Muslim, That's a good deed. That's part of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the name of Al-Wahhab.
Okay.
That Muslims give gift to one another. And the Prophet ﷺ, tahadu tahabbu. Give gifts, you would love one another. And that's why the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases in the hearts of the believers when they understand the name of Al-Wahhab. And also one of the rulings of it, that if you give a gift to someone, you don't ask for it back. Because that's what Al-Wahhab means. He does not do it for any return. And the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever do this, gives a gift to his brother and then he asks for it back, is like a dog vomit and he eats his vomit back. Something very disturbing, but this is how evil it is for a person to do that, except a father to a son. The father, he's the only one that can ask his son to give him back his gift.
Okay, very nice. Sheikh, we're going to have to stop there. We've come to the end of the program. I'd like to thank you very much for coming and sharing with us this knowledge on the name Al-Wahhab. So thank you very much, Sheikh. Okay, and on that note, I'd like to conclude and say Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Dear viewers, we've come to the end of our program here on Gems of the Heart, where we looked at the beautiful name Al-Wahhab. Now, there are so many benefits we can extract from this name. From amongst those that we discussed here today was first and foremost that its connection with children and wives. If you're looking for a child, or you're looking for a wife, or if you have a child and a wife but you want to improve this situation or the iman, there are so many du'as that the Sheikh mentioned here that you can benefit from by reading them and being sincere in that as well. Not just that, then we progressed and looked also at how the word or hiba or wahab is used in righteousness. If you want to be put alongside righteous people or attached with the righteous people, and hereafter we can also make use of these supplications. And finally, just like the Shaykh concluded, is the fact of hiba is to give a gift. So one of the practical things that we can walk away with, apart from the making the du'as at certain times and occasions, is giving gifts. Let's be good Muslims and let's go and give our friends and families a gift and not expect anything in return. That way we will feel the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Al-Wahhab, and you will give a hiba, a gift, as explained. So my dear viewers, I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on our program Gems of the Heart. Do your homework and do answer the question on Facebook as well. So until next week, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Change your heart, Lord, change our heart. You're living in a lawful way. Be mindful of what you say. Be sincere when you pray. Today could be your last day. Bear each other no malice. Greed and faith can coexist in the same heart.